The world's longest undefended border stretches for thousands of miles, winding through forests, mountains, and rivers. For centuries, it has symbolized peace and cooperation between two of the world's largest nations. But now, this invisible line has become a flashpoint in a crisis that neither side could have imagined. What was once a simple line on a map is now a boundary drawn in water, a resource more precious than ever before. On September 15, 2025, the United States and Canada confront a crisis not of territory, but of survival itself. The issue at hand is not land or borders, but the very lifeblood of civilization, fresh water. As rivers run dry and lakes shrink, the two nations find themselves on opposite sides of a deepening divide. America, battered by years of relentless megadrought, faces empty reservoirs, dying crops, and cities on the brink of water rationing. Desperation grows as millions look north, hoping for relief from Canada's vast, seemingly endless freshwater reserves. But Canada, under the leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, stands firm. The government refuses to open the taps, invoking national sovereignty and the need to protect its own future. For Canadians, water is not just a resource, it's a symbol of their identity and independence. The United States frames its plea as a matter of survival, invoking decades of alliance and shared history. American diplomats argue that cooperation is essential, not just for the two countries, but for the stability of the entire continent. Yet, for many Canadians, the request feels like a threat, a challenge to their sovereignty, and a risk to their own future security. The debate spills into the streets, with citizens rallying to defend what they see as their birthright. "Not one drop" becomes the rallying cry echoing from coast to coast, uniting Canadians across political and cultural divides. The slogan appears on banners, in headlines, and in the chants of protesters determined to protect their water at all costs. This standoff is about more than politics or policy. It's a collision of worldviews, shaped by geography, history, and the accelerating impacts of climate change. As droughts intensify and water grows scarcer, the stakes rise for both nations. Around the globe, leaders and citizens watch anxiously. Newsrooms buzz with speculation. Is this the beginning of a new era of resource wars? Will diplomacy prevail, or will desperation drive nations apart? As the taps remain closed and the land grows drier, the world holds its breath. The future of North America, and perhaps the world, hangs in the balance, as water becomes the most contested resource of our time. The American landscape is scarred by the megadrought of the 2020s. California's Central Valley is a dust bowl. Farmers face ruin, and rural communities are hollowed out. Cities like Phoenix and Las Vegas ration water, halting new construction and stalling economic growth. Water refugees migrate north and east, straining infrastructure and deepening social divides. The food supply chain buckles, crops fail, prices soar, and supermarket shelves grow bare. The crisis is no longer regional, it's a national emergency. Every American feels the impact, making the search for water a matter of national security. The desperation grows, fueling pressure on Canada. The drought has turned water into America's most urgent need. The U.S. ramps up pressure on Canada, publicly calling for cooperation but privately threatening economic retaliation. High-level envoys urge Ottawa to treat the drought as a shared continental crisis. Behind closed doors, talk of sanctions and tariffs grows louder. Political voices like Donald Trump demand confrontation, framing Canada as a selfish neighbor. The U.S. gambles that economic threats will force Canada's hand, risking a trade war and the unraveling of a historic alliance. For Washington, the stakes are survival. For Ottawa, it's sovereignty. The alliance is pushed to its breaking point. Across Canada, a powerful message echoes from coast to coast: not one drop. This rallying cry unites citizens from every province and territory, transcending political divides and cultural backgrounds. In city squares and rural towns alike, Canadians gather in unprecedented numbers, their voices rising in defense of the nation's most precious resource: fresh water. The movement is not just about policy, it's about identity, pride, and a deep sense of responsibility to future generations. Prime Minister Trudeau stands before the nation, resolute. He declares that Canada's water is off-limits for export, a stance supported by every major political party, and a groundswell of public support. The government's position is clear. Water is not a commodity to be traded, but a legacy to be protected. Parliament, usually divided, now speaks with one voice, reflecting the will of the people. The "not one drop" slogan becomes a symbol of unity and determination. It appears everywhere, on banners strung across busy intersections, on stickers plastered to shop windows, and on posters in school hallways. The message is unmistakable. Canadians are committed to safeguarding their fresh water at all costs, no matter the pressure from outside interests. Mark Carney, former central banker and respected economist, adds his voice to the chorus. He warns that exporting water in bulk would be both ecological and economic suicide, threatening not only Canada's environment but its long-term prosperity. His words resonate, reinforcing the urgency of the cause. Instead of selling its water, Canada offers something else: world-class expertise in water management and conservation. Scientists, engineers, and policy experts share their knowledge with the world, helping other nations develop sustainable solutions while keeping Canada's rivers and lakes untouched. The message to the international community is clear. Canada is willing to collaborate to share technology and best practices, but its water will remain within its borders. Meetings with American and global partners focus on innovation, not extraction. At the border, collaboration continues in many areas, but when it comes to water, the line is firmly drawn. Signs and regulations make it clear: water exports are not on the table, no matter the demand. Canadians from all walks of life stand shoulder to shoulder, united in their determination to protect their natural heritage. The resolve is palpable, a testament to the nation's collective will to safeguard its future. Around the globe, Canada's unwavering stance makes headlines. The world watches as a nation chooses principle over profit, setting a powerful example of environmental stewardship and national unity. The crisis tests the century-old Boundary Waters Treaty and the International Joint Commission, now deadlocked. The U.S. claims the treaty obliges Canada to help in times of need. Canada insists its water is a sovereign resource. Trade agreements like NAFTA and USMCA loom, raising fears that a single sale could make water a permanent commodity. Canada refuses, wary of losing control forever. Legal experts warn that acquiescence now could mean endless future demands. The government builds a legal firewall, defending sovereignty at all costs. For Canada, this is about more than water. It's about never surrendering control. Indigenous peoples' rights and voices are central to Canada's refusal. First Nations, Inuit and Métis hold constitutional rights to land and water, making their consent essential. For them, water is sacred, a living entity, not a commodity. Indigenous leaders vow absolute opposition to bulk exports, framing it as a violation of stewardship and treaty obligations. Their resistance adds a powerful moral and legal dimension to Canada's stance. The alliance between government and Indigenous nations forms a united front. The message to Washington: Canadian waters are not for sale, and any attempt to take them will be met with unyielding resistance. Water is life, and its guardians will not yield. Canadian scientists warn of catastrophic ecological consequences if water is diverted south. Massive transfers would disrupt ecosystems, destroy wetlands, and threaten countless species. Lowering the Great Lakes or major rivers could alter ocean currents and global climate. The infrastructure alone would scar wilderness and destabilize permafrost. The scientific consensus: Canada's water is not limitless, and exporting it would cause irreversible harm. The environmental cost far outweighs any temporary economic gain. The government's refusal is grounded in evidence, not just emotion. Protecting water means protecting the planet itself. The world watches with bated breath as the US-Canada water crisis erupts into a defining moment for the 21st century. What began as a regional dispute over water rights has rapidly escalated, drawing the attention of governments, corporations, and citizens across the globe. Newsrooms buzz with updates, and social media is ablaze with debates and speculation. The crisis is no longer just about two neighboring countries. It has become a global flashpoint, a symbol of the mounting pressures on our planet's most vital resource. Water-rich nations from Scandinavia to New Zealand watch nervously, fearing that any forced transfer of Canadian water could set a dangerous precedent. Meanwhile, water-poor nations, especially those suffering from prolonged droughts and shrinking reservoirs, look to Canada's vast freshwater reserves with a mix of hope and desperation. The world's attention is fixed on the negotiations, knowing that the outcome could reshape international relations for decades to come. Behind closed doors, major powers like China and the European Union discreetly express their interest in securing access to Canadian water. Their involvement adds layers of complexity to an already tense standoff, as global trade routes and alliances are quietly recalibrated. The crisis is no longer just bilateral, It's a test of global diplomacy and the ability of nations to cooperate in the face of scarcity. The unfolding events lay bare the inadequacy of outdated water treaties, many of which were drafted in an era when water seemed limitless. Now, as populations grow and climate change accelerates, the urgent need for new international frameworks becomes undeniable. Legal experts and diplomats scramble to draft agreements that can withstand the pressures of a warming, thirstier world. If diplomacy falters, the consequences could be catastrophic. Economists warn that an economic war over water could ripple through global markets, destabilizing not just the US and Canada, but economies worldwide. Food prices could soar, supply chains could fracture, and millions could face shortages of basic necessities. A Canadian capitulation, or even a perceived weakness, could trigger a worldwide scramble for water resources. Other nations might rush to secure their own supplies, leading to a cascade of new conflicts and alliances. The world stands at a crossroads, with the potential for cooperation or chaos hanging in the balance. Yet amid the tension, there is hope. Scientists and innovators race to develop new water purification and conservation technologies. International peace talks offer a glimmer of optimism, suggesting that collaboration, not confrontation, could be the path forward. The best hope lies in de-escalation, innovation, and genuine cooperation, not in pipelines or force. The outcome of this crisis will set the tone for how humanity manages water in a climate-challenged century. As glaciers melt and weather patterns shift, every nation will need to rethink its relationship with water, from the household tap to the highest levels of government. The stakes could not be higher. At risk is nothing less than the future of peaceful resource sharing, the stability of nations, and the well-being of billions. The choices made now will echo for generations. As the world holds its breath, the question remains: will reason and cooperation prevail, or will desperation drive us toward conflict? The answer will shape the fate of water and peace for the entire planet.